The Criminal Code of Canada. Property. A. Real and personal property of every description, and deeds and instruments relating to or evidencing the title or right. Let's look at that, the distinction. Evidencing the title or right to property, or giving a right to recover or receive money or goods. Criminal Code of Canada. Public stores. Public stores includes any personal property that is under the care, supervision, administration, or control of a public department or any person in the service of a public department. So in the Criminal Code of Canada, when you look in the interpretation section, when you look in the preamble, when you look in the description of the words that they use in that code, you're going to see the word property. Property, and it states that property is either real or personal property. That's what it states. And property is a deed or an instrument, it could mean a piece of paper, relating to the title or right to property. That's what they consider property. So, property in the Criminal Code of Canada is real or personal property. Now you scroll down more in the definition of their words and you look at the word public stores. Public stores. And it says that a public store is or includes any personal property that is under the control, care, or supervision of a public department. A public department. So, real property, personal property, such as your house, would qualify because it is under the care and supervision and control of a public department. For example, for those who own a home, if you woke up tomorrow and decided, I'm going to get a horse, I'm going to put a fence on the front of my lawn and bring a horse and have a horse on my front lawn. You will see how fast the city inspectors will come to your home and will tell you there is a bylaw in place that says you cannot have a horse on your front lawn. And since we are administrators, and since we are supervising your property on behalf of the public, you are forced to agree and you are forced to follow our bylaw through your person. You wake up tomorrow morning, you decide you want to build a garage. You start to build a garage. The city says you must apply for a permit in order to build this garage. So you follow through. You apply for a permit and they say you're not entitled to, we won't give you a permit. As administrators and supervisors over this property, over this area, we're not giving you the right to build a garage. So they are actually the ones who are administrating your property and controlling your property. And they're calling it in the Criminal Code of Canada public stores. Public stores. Now when you look again in the Criminal Code of Canada, in municipality, it said that a municipality, the inhabitants, meaning the ones who live in the municipality, are incorporated. Incorporated, they used that word, into the municipality. And we are all now been incorporated into a public nature, and there's no more individuality. Whether we want to accept it or not, that's what's happening. And that public body, that public department, the municipality, are now the ones who are in control of the public stores. And it's kind of insulting that they call our houses and our property public stores. But nevertheless, the public department is now in control of the public stores. So you're seeing the expression there of how everything that you own and everything that you have is not really yours. It belongs to the public. It belongs to, when they say public, they don't really mean me and you as the public. It's actually the government. It's actually in control and in ownership and titleship of the government. But they're just camouflaging it and using the word public. But we don't really own it. We're just been given certain rights to it through our person. So even though you have a mortgage on your house, and even though you may have a notarized title to that house, you've only been given certain legal rights to the house. And there's administrators over that house, over that property, that can act upon you in the way that I just said. And many more laws they can try and apply upon you. that's just showing you that you're never really considered the owner, never really the one that's sovereign in control of your property, or sitting at the hierarchy of this structure, if you will, unless you claim yourself to be a human being or a man. Because in the international covenants, it states that you have the right to hold property in association with others, which is exactly what they're doing here, or alone. That's your right as a human being. And they've provided laws and regulations and enactments here in Canada to strip you of your right to hold your property alone, not in association with others. And they enacted, or they put forth laws that they made you or created a system where your property is being held in a public nature, unless you make it under a claim of right. And they had an obligation to do just the opposite. You see, the freedoms that were in the international covenants, Canada was supposed to make sure that they erected, that they put out laws and legislation that would give the human being the right to say, hang on, everything that I'm making here and owning here belongs to me. I don't have any obligation to international, if you will, economic obligations, taking my taxes, taking a part of me, while you guys take the wealth of Canada out of here. So I'm just going to have ownership rights to my own property. They didn't do that. They did just the opposite. They created something that's called the Municipal Taxation Act. And in the Municipal Taxation Act, if you don't pay property taxes, then they have the right to take away your property from you, which is horrible. And they're only doing it through this expression, because they're saying that they are acting as administrators on behalf of the public for your property. And if you fail to abide by their terms and conditions, which is pay that tax account, then they have the right to remove you from your own house as the person. So you don't have an expression to have you own your own property without having it be held in association. And even your car, it works like that with the car also. When you go and you sign up your car with the SAAQ or whichever province you're living in, you get your driver's license and your registration, you're holding it in association with them. Here it's pretty funny because we're called the Society Automobile Assurance of Quebec, and it comes out as it being an association, but that's what they do. So you go, you take your private property now, and you register it with them, and you're owning it in association with them, but hang on a second, they have superior rights to you and to the use of your property, meaning that they'll tell you what you can and cannot do with your property, and they'll again disguise it in the nature of saying that this is the best for the public. We decided that this is best for the public. And when they mean public, they mean the person, they mean the Canadian citizen, they mean the legal person. That's what they mean by public. But you get your license with them and your registration, and there you go. Now you're in association with them, and they've become administrators of your vehicle and of the right of travel or driving right that you're exercising. And the police officers on the street, they will also be administrators for them, and they will enforce the rules of the Highway Safety Code or whatever code it is that you are under, whichever province you are in. So it's kind of crazy, and everything that you own, it works like that. Everything is being held in the public nature and in the public association, and it just comes out more and more in the law. And the only way to do anything about that, it seems like, when you start looking into the Criminal Code of Canada, is to live under a claim of right and establish a lawful excuse to say that, listen, hang on a second, there's a whole bunch of articles of law and rights and freedoms that were guaranteed to me as a human being, as a man and woman, that are not being expressed here in Canada. And one of them, for example, is that I have the right to buy a piece of property, no matter what is on it, what building is on it, and I have the right to be the complete owner of that property and not have it being held in association with you, not have it being held in association with the government, so that you can make a profit off of me, so that you can make a piece of the pie, if you will. That's my right, and you haven't given me that right here. So I have to go into court now, here we go, and maybe invoke habeas corpus, but not in the way to say, well, bring my body before the judge, but I'll bring my body before the judge, and I'll declare that there's want or an excess of jurisdiction being applied here. And I'll declare that the enactment that's being used against me has no force and should be nullified because of the fact that I'm a human being, because of the fact that I'm a man and woman.